The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
The Mitt Romney tax return games are continuing. He is now saying that, listen, why would I release more of my tax returns when John Kerry ran for president? John Kerry's wife didn't release her tax returns either, Lewis.
I can't think of anything more stupid.
Here, let's take a look at, obviously we know, let's take a guess, Lewis. What channel do you think he was on, Mitt Romney, when he did this interview?
Let me guess. Hold on. Fox.
Right. And which program on Fox do you think he was on?
Fox and Friends. Absolutely.
Let's take a look at the incredible questions and the very eloquent, well-reasoned, logical answer.
Governor, there's a lot of people are making a lot of why you won't release more of your tax returns. You released 2010. You said 2011 is on its way. But why not more? Bill Kristol had this to say.
He needs to defend it. This is what he did for most of his adult life. He is proud of what he did, and here's what he should do. He should release the tax returns tomorrow. It's crazy. You've got to release 6, 8, 10 years of back tax returns. Take the hit for a day or two, and then give a serious speech on Thursday in which he says, okay, we've had this ridiculous picayune debate about when I took my leave from Bain and when I didn't, and you can now look at my tax returns.
So some would say that would be a good way to go on offense. What about it?
You know, John McCain ran for president and released 2 years of tax returns. John Kerry ran for president. You know, his wife, who has hundreds of millions of dollars, she never released her tax returns. Right. Somehow this wasn't an issue. The Obama people...
Somehow it wasn't an issue because she wasn't running for anything. Right. And we're still playing here, Lewis. Here we go.
More and more things to pick through, more things for their opposition research to try and make a mountain out of, and to distort and to be dishonest about. We're going to put out 2 years of tax returns and put out one already as soon as the most recent year is complete. We'll put that out. It's hundreds of pages of documents, and by the way, none of those tax returns are required by law to be put out. What is required by law, the financial disclosure, has already been made.
There you go. So, yeah, we're going to put out the tax returns of this year because it's being very carefully looked over by accountants and by a number of people. Money has been moved around to appear as if I actually do support America and American jobs and American banks, etc. John Kerry's wife didn't release her tax returns. You know what? Also, let's play this out. First of all, let's look at this, the actual numbers. Number one, because of John Kerry's Senate campaigns, we actually had, when he ran for president, like 20 years of his tax returns. That's number one. He only additionally released 2 years of tax returns. And why would he release more? They were already in the public record because he ran for Senate. But number two, let's say that Romney was right. John Kerry didn't release enough tax returns and John McCain only released 2 tax returns. What do those two guys have in common? They both lost. They both lost their elections. Neither one of them won. Why would you point to 2 candidates who ran unsuccessful campaigns and point to what they did when you're defending what you did? It's a very weird thing to point to losers when you talk about what you're doing.
Well, maybe this is a good sign because he plans to only release 2 years as well. So if history continues, then he will lose.
You know what's crazy? George Clooney, before he did his last movie, he didn't release any tax returns. Unbelievable.
What a scumbag.
Why would Mitt Romney release any tax returns? Clooney didn't release any. Clooney held a fundraiser for Obama, didn't release a single tax return.
I'm pretty sure John Kerry's nephew didn't release his tax returns either.
The other thing that I think is going on is that the Bain issue and the tax issue are being conflated. They are similar issues because a lot of what's going to be sketchy about Mitt Romney's tax returns is directly connected to what he did at Bain. But I think that there is a little bit of confusion going on between the two issues among some people. Also, if we look at Mitt Romney's past, he called on his opponents to release their tax returns in past campaigns. In 1994, he was running in the Senate against Ted Kennedy, and in that race, Romney was the big transparency advocate. He said, it's time the biggest taxing senator in Washington shows the people of Massachusetts how much he pays in taxes. That's in April of 1994, according to a Boston Globe report. When it's other people, they've got to release those taxes, Lewis.
No surprise.
In 2002, he wanted to turn Enron into a campaign issue when it was revealed that when he was running for governor against O'Brien, that O'Brien's husband, Emmett Hayes, had lobbying ties to Enron, and he was starting to call on, he was calling for all sorts of tax returns from Shannon O'Brien and then from Shannon O'Brien's husband. It was incredible, given that now he's saying, hey, Teresa Hines Carey didn't release any tax returns.
Unbelievable.
It really is. A D.C. police officer who worked as a motorcycle escort for White House officials and other dignitaries was moved to administrative duty after he was allegedly overheard making threatening comments towards Michelle Obama, according to a number of officials. The motorman allegedly made the comments Wednesday morning as a bunch of officers discussed threats against the Obamas. And during the conversation, the officer allegedly said he would shoot the First Lady and then use his phone to retrieve, and then actually pulled up on his phone a picture of the firearm he would use to shoot the First Lady. It's not clear what type of firearm that was. He was only moved to administrative leave. I guess it makes sense. And when you hear allegations, until you have an investigation and confirm it, you don't fire someone. What's your reaction to this?
How stupid are you as a police officer who does that to say that out loud, even if you have those sentiments? Why wouldn't you just keep that on the down low?
Well, that's the thing. If you're not aware enough to realize, even if you have those sentiments, you shouldn't make the comments, there's probably something wrong with you.
Is it just extreme stupidity, or is there something wrong with the guy?
There could be something wrong. We don't know yet. Also, is someone who makes these threats, forget about continuing to be a police officer, someone who makes a threat about shooting the First Lady and pulling up a gun on your phone, should you even be allowed to have a gun, period? To be near a gun, to touch a gun for the rest of your life if you make a comment like that? You would think that the Secret Service would be much more involved in this.
Well, the police officer does have his rights, and he could argue that it was just a dumb joke. It's all just hearsay.
Yeah, but why do you pull up the gun, too? It's just weird.
It is weird. I don't know.
When people make credible threats against the president and the Secret Service investigates, if they show up, can you say, it was just a silly joke? And do they say, oh, okay, see ya.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any guns we need to know about, right? We'll take your word for it. We won't check. Thanks. Good joke. We'll see you later. As long as you're joking, it's okay. We thought it was for real, and it's fine. We won't even check for guns.
Well, there's no doubt he has access to guns. He's a police officer.
No question about it.
Right.
A woman who appears to be related to George Zimmerman is claiming that George Zimmerman molested her for more than a decade. It's not clear whether this is a cousin of George Zimmerman or just a woman with close ties to the family. She is now saying it started when I was 6. We'd all lay in front of the TV and we had pillows and blankets, and he would reach under the blankets and try to do things, and I would try to push him off, but he was bigger and stronger than me. It was in front of everybody. I don't know how I didn't just say anything. I just didn't know any better. Saying she finally now feels like because George Zimmerman is so out in the open, in the public eye, she can come out and say this and not risk repercussions from Zimmerman. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
She's being identified as witness 9. She is claiming that from age 6 to 19, Zimmerman repeatedly fondled her, including penetration with his finger at some points. Now, a number of people are pointing out that this is, including Zimmerman's attorney, are pointing out that this has nothing to do with these allegations, and we can't bring in this type of information when you're thinking about George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin. Now, what's fascinating about that is I bet those same people were, of course, saying we can't be considering the fact that Trayvon Martin had marijuana in his system at the time of the shooting. We can't consider the fact that Trayvon Martin had been suspended from school. None of that stuff matters. We only have to focus on the actual shooting. Oh, wait a second. No, they were the people saying, hey, this is a kid Trayvon Martin, who was a troublemaker. He was suspended. He had marijuana in his system. A stark double standard, don't you think?
Yeah, but this is a big one, and this could spark an entirely different trial.
Well, what's interesting is that according to Zimmerman's legal defense team, they are going to vigorously defend George Zimmerman against the allegations. So apparently they are interested in the importance of this as well. Maybe the attorneys just see it as more money. Hey, in addition to the stand your ground murder case, second-degree murder case, we also have this other public battle to wage. But without charges, and it seems the statute of limitations may have expired, without charges, what does a defense of these statements even really mean?
Who knows? I mean, I guess they're hoping just to keep this out of, keep this away from people's opinion. I mean, of course, presumably any jury is going to hear about it too.
Well, that's the question. Would it even really be admissible as what? Character evidence? Now, I think the argument would be pretty easily made by Zimmerman's attorneys
that it cannot be.
Listen, charges were never filed. The statute of limitations has expired. This is completely just character assassination. It is of absolutely no importance. If that's the case, though, then we have to assume that any evidence about Trayvon Martin being suspended from school prior to the shooting would also not be admissible, don't you think?
Probably, yeah.
We'll see what the deal is with that.
But I don't see how information from both sides about both people wouldn't reach a jury. I mean, what are they living under rocks? I mean,
well, you know how that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can never really confirm that. On davidpakman.com, we have an incredible membership special going on, Lewis. We're giving away a free David Pakman Show t-shirt. You choose the color, you choose the size, you choose the style with the purchase of a 1-year David Pakman Show membership. Free t-shirt. You have to go to davidpakman.com/summer. davidpakman.com/summer. Get the free t-shirt along with your membership, and you'll also get the bonus show where we will talk about a number of different things, including the rich fleeing France due to some high taxes. We'll talk about the incredible monetary value of e-waste. We'll also tell you about our upcoming vacations. Is Lewis going to be using air sickness patches? Will he be taking Dramamine? What will he be taking? What will I be taking on my boat ride? A number of questions to sort out, all on the bonus show. davidpakman.com/summer. Sign up. We'll send you a free t-shirt. We'll take a break. Back with plenty more after this.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com. Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
I want to say hi to a new David Pakman Show member. The membership program is made possible in part by liberalbias.com, the only website allowed at producer Lewis's Krakatoa Metal Band concerts other than the Krakatoa Metal Band website itself.
Right.
Want to say hi to Hugh Rockwell. Hugh Rockwell, new David Pakman Show member.
Yes, I do, David.
What?
You Rockwell? You mentioned the band. Dumb joke. Dumb pun.
Cool. Lewis is on fire today.
Dave didn't get it.
What else you got?
That's it.
Oh, okay.
I'm all out.
Hugh Rockwell. Great to have Hugh Rockwell as a David Pakman Show member. You can sign up at davidpakman.com. If you're going to the Olympics in London starting at the end of the month, get ready for a number of restrictions. A bunch of stuff is not going to be allowed at the Olympics, including bottled water, long lens cameras, Che Guevara t-shirts, all banned from all Olympic stadiums. What do you think about this, Lewis?
The t-shirt thing is confusing.
You also can't have excessive food.
And what are those things called? At the bottom there?
Oh, vuvuzelas.
I'm very glad those are banned.
That is actually
the
good.
most obnoxious thing in the world.
It was at the World Cup that they had them, right?
Oh my God.
Really annoying.
And
no
I was trying to figure
frisbees.
out the whole time what that horrible humming noise was. I'm like, it must be some type of electrical interference. No, it was
No,
those
not
stupid
at all.
things.
It's going to be almost like airport type restrictions. No liquids greater than 100 milliliters, no more than one soft-sided bag is allowed. It has to fit under your seat. The Beijing Olympics drew a lot of criticism because they also had this restricted list, which covered everything from sleeping outdoors. You needed government permission to stage any kind of protest. No prostitutes were allowed. Nobody with mental diseases, I don't even know what that means, or any contagious conditions were allowed there. There's going to be in London no picnics, no eating too much food, no alcohol. Of course, spectators also won't be able to bring golf-style umbrellas or oversized hats. Of course, London has pretty unpredictable weather, so that could be a problem. It honestly sounds like you're better off watching from home.
You know, the prostitute thing is a deal breaker for me. I would have gone, but no prostitutes, forget about it.
Don't worry, though. You'll be able to get a nice $10 bottle of water inside, I'm sure.
Yeah, but there's no alcohol being sold inside.
Apparently not.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, it just really seems like...
That'd be a huge moneymaker.
In the end of it, well, no, you can't bring alcohol. Alcohol, they may sell alcohol inside. I don't know about that, but in the areas outside, in the entire cordoned area, you can't have alcohol, excessive amounts of food. Now, it's interesting. What's an excessive amount of food may be dictated by cultural norms in great part. So I wonder if there's going to be disagreement about what's a normal-sized amount of food. In other words, for me, a 64-ounce soda is an excessive amount of food under any circumstances.
Yeah.
But to a lot of people who frequent fast food restaurants, 64-ounce sodas are kind of no big deal.
I think out of all of these rules, the excessive food thing will probably be the least enforced. Right?
Yeah, I mean, a vuvuzela is a vuvuzela. How much food is excessive? It's definitely more subjective.
Right.
Another controversy related to the Olympics is that the U.S. uniforms being made in China has brought Republicans and Democrats kind of together in a way, saying that the U.S. Olympic Committee's decision to dress the team in these Chinese-manufactured berets, blazers, and pants while the American textile industry continues to struggle economically, is a bad idea. Harry Reid, Senate Majority Leader, Democrat from Nevada, said, "I'm so upset. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should be embarrassed. They should take all the uniforms, put them in a pile, and burn them." Nancy Pelosi saying they should be wearing uniforms made in America. John Boehner, Republican from Ohio, Speaker of the House, saying you'd think they'd know better. What do you think, Lewis?
Well, first of all, I think they look completely ridiculous.
Well, they're Ralph Lauren.
It looks ridiculous.
Okay.
And I agree 100%. It's a joke. It's a joke that these are made in China. And the joke's on us. On
Twitter, some kind of spokesperson for the Olympics said that the uniforms are that Ralph Lauren, the designer, financially supports the team, and that it's an American company that's supporting American athletes. Honestly, a couple things on this. Number one, it shouldn't be an issue that so many people in Congress are getting involved with. They're all just jumping to agree with each other. Let's vote on that jobs bill in the House, Republicans. How about that? But number two, Mitt Romney, who famously left Bain Capital, supposedly, even though we know didn't really leave, to run the Salt Lake City Olympics in 2002, he's been kind of quiet about this, and people said that's a little weird. You'd think he wants to call Obama the outsourcer. He would want to distance himself from outsourcing, even though he's kind of the main outsourcer that we're pointing to here. Turns out when he was in charge of the Salt Lake City Olympics, the uniforms that the torchbearers wore were made in Burma. So Mitt Romney's staying quiet, apparently, because he figured that that's going to bring that out, and that's the last thing anybody wants mentioned.
Romney cannot call out anybody on outsourcing.
Needles have been found in sandwiches on 4 Delta Airlines flights, and 2 passengers suffered minor injuries from needles found in the meat of sandwiches served aboard flights from Amsterdam to the U.S., according to a federal official report. The FBI is investigating. The sandwiches were served to business class passengers, crew members, and government employees that were on the flights. At least one batch of 17 sandwiches appeared to be made by a U.S. company based at Amsterdam's airport. The sandwiches were served on the flight to Minneapolis-St. Paul just a few days ago. Now, here's something interesting. 2 passengers aboard the flight found the needles in their sandwiches, okay? The sandwiches were turned over to Customs and Border Patrol. They needed to do some analysis of those lunch meats, Lewis. Mitt Romney also asked that an unidentified chocolate goodie be turned over for analysis. A lot of uncertainty about what some of those food items are on these planes.
Right, right. A lot of uncertainty in general. I hope I don't get hungry on my way to...
That's right, you're flying Delta. You really shouldn't with all the anti-union stuff.
What can I do?
Yeah.
I didn't have many options.
You need my help booking your flights. I know you say every time it would make no difference, but when we end up going to the same place, I end up getting flights that are cheaper and much more convenient.
No, they're not more convenient. Like when we went to Arizona, you had like 2 stops and it was completely ridiculous. I had 1 and it was way more convenient, and I paid a tiny bit more.
That's the one exception.
No, I doubt it.
Believe me. Just check with me next time before you book it.
Yeah, okay, Flight Master David.
If it doesn't work, you book your thing.
The flight guru, David.
You lose nothing.
I encourage every listener to contact David if they have a flight problem.
Okay, back to the sandwiches. One of the passengers who bit in, the needle actually pricked his mouth. And
Prick. All right.
They actually put him on antiretroviral drugs because if one of those needles had HIV, you would want to start him on that right away. Now, here's what's fascinating. I don't even understand how this happens, but the guy who this happened to, James Tungus or Tongus, I don't know how to pronounce his name. On Good Morning America, he said that his teenage son, who was traveling from Amsterdam on a different flight, was also a victim, and authorities are investigating. What are the odds that 2 members of the same family on different flights get needles in their food on these 2 different flights? It's a little bit weird.
And they both order the sandwiches. Presumably the same type of sandwich.
And the kid didn't want to give the sandwich to the crew because he said he was going to keep it as evidence for a potential future lawsuit.
Yeah. Which is a good call.
It's smart, actually. It is actually smart. However,
the sandwich isn't going to stay good forever. What are you going to do?
It's just a little bit weird. What are the odds that people on 2 separate flights get these? I don't know. It's just something about it strikes me as a little bit off, but who am I to say?
Hey, I mean, we've heard of much stranger things happening.
We certainly have.
Yeah.
Well, you've been involved in far stranger things personally.
I have?
On flights.
Really?
You've been involved in just about every weird thing on flights.
I don't know. This is pretty weird.
You've never eaten syringes, but...
No.
Okay. Let's take a break. Facebook.com/David Pakman Show. Like us on Facebook. We'll be back after the break with Bay Buchanan, the known political strategist and Romney advisor. I have a number of questions for her, Louis. Hopefully she will appease me by answering a few of them. Back after this.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com. Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome back to the David Pakman Show. Joining me is Bay Buchanan, conservative political strategist, former treasurer of the United States. The new book is Bay and Her Boys, Unexpected Lessons I Learned as a Single Mom. Bay, you're advising Mitt Romney. Let's talk about, initially, why do you endorse him?
Well, there was a couple, actually 4 years ago I endorsed him because I was with Tom Tancredo. I thought that immigration issue was key. I knew McCain was terrible. And so I met with Governor Romney to see what his position was on immigration and to get a sense for the kind of person he was. And I endorsed him then. I traveled to New Hampshire for him. I got to know him very well. Very, very impressed with him. And on those key issues, as we looked into 2012, the key issues facing the country, clearly we need someone who really has an understanding of how to run an economy, how to put people to work, how to help businesses grow, what kind of national or federal policies you need. So you create that kind of environment. I'm devastated by the millions of people who are unemployed in this country and facing very, very tough times. And so I thought, okay, the first thing we need is somebody who not only is informed and understands the issue, but has that kind of toughness, that determination to say, listen, this company is going to get turned around and I'm going to do it. I don't care what it takes. And he doesn't have ties to Washington. So I felt that Mitt Romney was, without question, the best person for the country at this time. I know he's strong on the social issues, very close to my heart. He is solid pro-life. I am absolutely certain of that.
All right, now let's hold on. There's so much there that we have to talk about. So let's see if I can let's take it a step at a time here. So number one, on the issue of he has the right ideas for federal policy. Now, to me, the biggest accomplishment he had as governor of Massachusetts, the health care bill that he passed, he's had to completely disavow at the federal level, and has been very clear it wouldn't work at the federal level. He's actually had difficulty distancing himself from the idea that it would work federally. So specifically, what federal policy can we point to that indicates he would have good ideas there?
All right, well, first of all, he's a guy that goes into a business and looks at the whole thing and assesses it, and he's done this extremely well over the years, been very, very successful at turning around companies. So he understands sometimes you have to make this tough decisions and shut down some arm of that company or turn this around or make people more efficient. Whatever you had to do, he has been enormously successful too. When he went over as governor, I think you're wrong as to his greatest accomplishment in Massachusetts. He took over a government that was facing a huge deficit, and the last in line for number of jobs created, number 50. And in 4 years, he not only turned that state around economically, they moved him up to about, I think it was about 27th in job creation, little state of Massachusetts.
No, it was 48th, actually. It wasn't good.
No, that is not correct. That is something the Obama people are putting out. It is absolutely inaccurate. In fact, no state was able to jump as many notches up as Massachusetts in those 4 years. What the Obama people have done is averaged the 4 years. But if you look at where it was when he took over and where it was when he ended, it is clear success story. In addition, he balanced the budget, left them with a surplus, did it without increasing taxes.
Let's talk about that, though.
Taxed 19 times.
Yeah, you know what's incredible to me about the he didn't raise taxes thing? I live in Massachusetts, so I experienced this firsthand. The exact same way through which he was able to raise revenue without raising taxes, which is by penalties and fees, is the exact same thing he's trying to play the other side of the ballgame on the Obamacare mandate, whether it's a tax or whether it's a penalty/fee. Fees and penalties everywhere in Massachusetts, and I paid them, went way, way up. So it's silly to say that by not calling it a tax, he didn't actually increase fees, taxes, etc. It's kind of a semantic game.
Well, no, it is not if, and I don't know the case for every single fee up there.
Yeah.
But I was in the Reagan administration,
right.
and I was in the Department of Treasury, and I was young. I was the U.S. Treasurer. And so I really made an effort to learn as much as I could about the economy and sat down with a lot of the supply siders. And they explained to me, Norman Ture, just a wonderful man, and was the undersecretary, and he explained that there are certain things that conservatives support. So in other words, if we're using the roads, we should pay for the roads. So there's a certain portion, unfortunately not all. You know, when you have a tax on gas, if it's going right to the roads, that's something we would support. Like if you go out to a national park, and I use the national park, you have to pay a fee to get into the national park. That makes sense. That is something conservatives accept because, you know, we're using it. So we should be paying something that's a direct user fee, if you like. And in that regard, and as I said, I don't know all of the things that were called fees up in Massachusetts, but in that regard, that's something conservatives do support. And now, unlike the Obamacare, which has what, 21 taxes in it, you know, and in fairness, no conservatives was calling it a tax until our Supreme Court justice decided that that's what it was.
Yeah, but in the discussion about Romney in Massachusetts, I mean, for example, not raising the excise tax rate, but raising the renewal for your car registration by $60, it's essentially the same thing. Money's going the same place. You're just calling it a fee rather than a tax. Same thing we're seeing with Obamacare. It's a little bit wishy-washy. I don't know that that's the strongest case to make as a Romney supporter for you.
Well, I do know without question he cut taxes 19 times. Now, did he raise taxes some other times?
Of course.
You know, I do know that there was cutting taxes. He obviously was able to get control of the spending to line it up with the income, because as a result, he balanced the budget and left a surplus. That's something I would like to see on the federal level. I think he's shown experience both in the private sector and in the public sector, that he is tough enough to do the job that needed to get done so that you have a strong economy in the state of Massachusetts, or a business has a strong, you know, economic basis to continue to grow. And I hope that he's able to do that on the federal level so America can get back to work.
Well, let's talk about the Bain experience, which you alluded to. So much is going on, and I know we have limited time, but a few different things I want to touch on. Number one, he has made his business experience kind of like a paramount achievement on which we should decide whether he would or wouldn't be a good president. He says he would be a good president as a result of his experience at Bain. What other presidents in history can we point to where coming exclusively with business experience ended up being good presidents? Who would you point to?
Well, you know, I think the key is I would point to the president who's there now. He has never been in business. He has never met a payroll, and he has no knowledge, never owned a business, is clueless as to how it's done, and doesn't respect those who have done it. And
how is that hurting him?
And I think as a result of that, we today, unlike other times in our history, are facing terrible economic times. I mean, a crisis is not to exaggerate the situation.
No, I understand, Babe, but we're switching topics here. We're switching topics. You're saying Obama...
A guy who has no knowledge of business, doesn't have a clue as to how it's working. He established his policies that take us from a recession that he inherited and gives us a weak, anemic, jobless...
Okay, but Babe...
It falls right back into a recession we're looking at now.
I respect what you're doing. I respect what you're doing. You're pivoting from my question about Romney into talking about Obama talking points. But hold on a second, Babe. Hold on a second.
You can ask whatever questions you want, but the key is...
And you can answer them however you want. I understand. You're pivoting.
Relevant today. And relevant today is not when Eisenhower, who had no business experience, only military, took over, and look what happened.
But let me ask let me just try it once more.
Somebody with that.
Okay, let me try it once more. Forgetting about Barack Obama for a second. Mitt Romney says, and many of his supporters agree, that someone with so-called business experience is uniquely and particularly well qualified to be president.
At this time.
What can we point to in history that would suggest that coming from business experience makes you a good president? And if we can't point to anything because this time is so unique, we really have no evidence. It's just a guess, right?
No. This is... You know, you can look all at history, but we got two choices here.
Okay.
That's what it's down to. And in the primary, I supported him because there's another aspect of his... First of all, you have to understand how it's done. You have to have appreciation for what makes an economy work, what's healthy for them out there in the middle America. How does that what can we do to make their companies thrive so they can start hiring again? Okay.
But so we have no actual evidence
that that's good. The second thing is, the second thing is this. We need somebody who will actually do it. Because so many of these politicians are stuck here in this town for too many years, have too many friends. So when it comes time to chop the Interior Department or the Agricultural Department or Education, oh, my friend here, my friend there, Joe's district, that would hurt him. And then they can't come to grips with it. They start taking care of their friends. And that's what happens. Even some of our friends, I might
Yeah, but even this idea that you're alluding...
He does not have those ties, David. He doesn't have any of those ties.
Yeah, but you know what?
It's in spite. Is focused on turning around companies or states or the Olympics, and he will be focused on turning our economy around, which is all what his whole background is everything he's learned.
Yeah.
I cannot be anybody better prepared to be president of the United States at this time.
Okay. This whole idea that he's a Washington outsider, if he's a Washington outsider, it's because he lost an election in 1994. He wanted to be a Washington insider. But let's put that aside.
You become an insider by living here and gaining all these friends. Just because he lost an election.
He doesn't have any Washington friends.
He is an insider, but because he might have been. Come on, David, let's use the census. The man does not have the ties to this town that all of those other candidates in the primary did, or most all of them.
He gets his money from all the same people that the so-called insiders do. There's no difference. It's indistinguishable.
No, well,
money is totally fungible. Whether he's an insider or outsider, it comes from the Koch brothers. It comes from all the same people. What's the difference?
No, I'll tell you what the difference is because you get in that Senate, you get in the House, and you become compromised in some manner or another.
Okay.
You explain to me how it is that conservative House, a conservative Senate, and a so-called conservative president gave us the largest entitlement since LBJ. Now, you explain how that happens if indeed they stand on principle when they get here. I say they get co-opted. They feel they have to keep the leadership and the party happy.
All right.
Mitt Romney doesn't have any of those ties. When he comes here, he's got one thing in mind: cut the spending down to some reasonable percent of the GDP, back to the 20%. That's what he will do. He's not going to worry about who it offends.
All right. Well, I wanted to get into all of the details of the Bain stuff, including also Mitt Romney's outsourcing of the Olympic uniforms to Burma, even though now he's criticizing the current outsourcing to China. But unfortunately, we've gone over our time. I really do want to have you back, though, Bay. And let me mention again, the book is Bay and Her Boys, Unexpected Lessons I Learned as a Single Mom, Bay Buchanan. We don't agree on the politics, but it's really great to talk to you.
I just have to ask, David, you voting for Obama? Because there ain't any other choices.
I'm voting for President Obama. Given the two choices between Romney and Obama, I'm voting for Obama, absolutely.
Okay, well, he has already failed us, so we know what direction he's taken the nation.
Okay, Bay, thank you very much for the interview.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care, bye.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com. The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Become a David Pakman Show member before the end of July. Get a yearly membership. We'll send you a free David Pakman Show t-shirt. Go to davidpakman.com/summer. davidpakman.com/summer. Don't miss out on that. The Oasis Church in Saginaw, north of Fort Worth, Texas, has a 19-year-old congregant named Junior Garcia. Now, Junior Garcia decided that instead of spending a month doing something else that 19-year-olds normally do during the summer, he would carry a huge cross on his back from Texas to Washington, D.C. He recently made it there, Lewis. Let's take a look at some local news coverage of it.
Texas man has finished a cross-country cross-bearing pilgrimage. Junior Garcia says God told him to carry the cross and a message from Fort Worth to Washington, D.C. So he picked up a 12-foot cross and started walking.
CBS 11's Joel Thomas was there when Garcia's church finished that journey with him.
We need to humble our hearts and seek the face of God and ask Him to heal this land. Amen? Amen.
The Oasis Church is in North Texas, but they're finishing a journey 1,400 miles away.
Our country is in a serious moral decay.
Of course.
And that's what this journey is about.
The church is gathered to watch Junior Garcia finish a cross-bearing pilgrimage in Washington, D.C. The congregation of the Oasis is there through the internet.
Can't wait to get back home to all of you at the Oasis Church. And just wanted to share this with y'all.
Garcia began his journey in early June in Fort Worth. He's carried his cross along highways and back roads every day since.
I felt God put this in my heart, and it's something that I felt so strong about, to just pick up my cross and carry it.
Oh, man. Okay, so that's how he decided to spend a month. I do find this somewhat disturbing. I mean, imagine if this kid instead spent a month taking piano lessons, for example, or learning how to grow vegetables.
Yeah.
That's a real skill.
Or volunteering to help the homeless.
Or volunteering to help the homeless.
Poor. Yeah.
It's something that would have such a measurable impact either on his life or the life of others. And I guess people in his church will say this had an impact on them. But it really is sad, a little bit sad to me, because where did he get these ideas, right? I mean, why is he even in a situation where he thinks that this is such a valuable experience? I don't know how else to feel other than just a little bit sorry for the kid.
He also did it in the middle of a heat wave. Bad timing.
Yeah, well,
I guess God wanted him to sweat a bit.
It's part of the suffering.
He's probably got huge traps right now. It's probably a pretty good workout.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
A Kauai district judge found an attorney guilty of licking his client's ear at his Lihue office. I wonder if that's how you say it. Lihue, I'm not sure how you say it. It's in Hawaii. Lawrence McCreary, age 64, was convicted of harassment by per diem district judge Frank Rothschild. On July 26, 2011, McCreary was discussing a 21-year-old woman's custody case when he touched her arm, according to a news release, and McCreary made a strange sound, hugged her tightly, and licked the back of her right ear. McCreary denied the charges in court. He testified that the woman initiated the hug and that he just didn't lick her ear. According to the news release, Judge Rothschild said, "Quite frankly, these are the actions of a dirty old man." McCreary's attorney says that they're going to file an appeal. The appeal is obviously going to be using the earwax defense. He was simply trying to get rid of someone's earwax.
Interesting.
What do you think of this? This gets us to that conversation we had about, I don't remember if it was on the bonus show or on the regular show yesterday, about you get the idea that hopefully there are certain people that you can just trust, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe for some people at some age it's a police officer, and then it turns out you can't really trust police officers all the time. They're bad cops, and you can always trust a doctor. And we hear about people being touched inappropriately by doctors sometimes. And then we hear about, you know, obviously family or religious individuals, and then, you know, you can't always trust them. You'd think maybe your lawyer, you know, maybe at least he's going to really always have your best interest in mind. And in this case, I guess he thought licking someone's ear would be part of that.
Well, we do know that we can add Lawrence McCreary to the list of people you cannot trust.
Yes, you can. You can certainly add that.
Hey, 6 billion and what? How many people do we have left to put on the list? This is the first guy.
Right. Well, a lot.
Basically, one less than 7 billion. It's a long list. We're going to start working on that.
Very strange incident in Ludi City, Sun Shui Park, China, where a man saved a drowning family who was drowning in water and then ended up drowning as that family left him to drown in return, saying, hey, it's none of their business. Incredible story, isn't it, Lewis?
Did this really happen?
Deng Jinji saved a family of 3 from drowning. However, he was disregarding his own personal safety and he ended up drowning himself. And instead of helping, the family of 3 left him to struggle, claiming it was, quote, none of their business. He just ran out of strength and he was swallowed by the river that was pretty fast. He ended up drying. And as a witness says, when the crowd stopped the family of 3 from leaving, the woman said, none of my damn business, before driving away. Very, very strange story, Lewis.
Wow. China.
What would you do if you were this guy? We had that lifeguard story last week. Would you just not have tried to save the family at all because the river was moving kind of quickly, or what? I mean, what would have been your prerogative?
If I thought I could do it, I would do it.
Right.
And if I realized they left me to die in return, what could I do?
You'd be mad for the few seconds before you died, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Incredible.
Yeah.
What about in situations like where you have to make quick decisions, like, you know, a common one is someone falls into the subway tracks, right? And then you see someone pull them out at the very last second at personal risk as well.
Mm-hmm.
How would you decide whether to try to jump in and grab that person or not?
If it was someone I cared about.
Really?
Yeah.
It wouldn't make a difference if you thought that you could make it or not. If it's someone you don't know and the train's coming and you think maybe you can make it, you're not getting involved.
I mean, I think the only way I would almost definitely do that is if it was someone I cared about, or if it was like a little kid who wouldn't accidentally like pull me in and get me killed.
Right.
If it was like a little kid who was lightweight, and I'm pretty sure I could do it.
What if it required you getting down into the track, though? So after getting the kid out, you'd have to get out yourself.
It's all situational.
All
How
right.
far away is the train? How fast is it moving? I don't know.
Well, I'm saying, how sure would you have to be that you could get out? Would you have to be like 100% sure? Or
I'd
you're
have
just
to
like,
be,
I think I can probably make it?
I'd have to be 85% sure.
85% is
Yeah.
Lewis's cutoff. Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
But when your mind is racing that quickly and things are happening that quickly, it's
you just kind of make a decision.
You're probably not thinking, well, let's see, the train's moving this fast, it's this far down.
You don't take out paper and figure
gravity
out.
is.
If a train leaves the previous station at X time, how much time will I have to get in and pull the kid out?
I don't think you're factoring all those things in.
All right.
Who
Well,
knows?
a disturbing story nonetheless.
Yeah.
Let's get to some of your email. You can email us through our website, davidpakman.com, or through Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. The girl punished with the shot collar because, according to her parents, that's what the Bible says you have to do. Why do we forbid gay people from adopting children again? Brilliant question. This couple adopted a kid, thought that the Bible says you should shock them, but gay people apparently wouldn't make good parents, according to many.
Right.
These are cult fanatics. They're not religious at all. The Georgia couple speak blasphemy.
No, they are religious. Right?
Well, they say they are. They believe themselves to be good Christians.
Everyone has their own interpretation of it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if you say you go by the Bible, you go by the Bible.
And this is actually an unreported epidemic where Christian parents adopt and savagely beat their children. It stems from some book that was written 5 or 6 years ago about how to raise Christian children with the rod or something. Yeah, we did a report about that.
Yeah. See, now, if there were no Bible, no one would be able to fill their minds with false interpretations.
Wouldn't they just find something else, though?
Perhaps. I don't know. But this would be one less thing to be confused over.
On the 3-year-old who accidentally shot his father with a loaded gun that was hanging around the house, this goes to show how it's not enough to have a loaded gun in your house. You've got to have a loaded gun in your hand. Even when you're sitting at home watching TV, you've got to defend yourself. When your son shoots you, you've got to be ready to shoot back. That's how guns keep us all safe. Very, very good.
Brilliant.
Very good message.
Yeah.
And the kid was acting on behalf of natural selection. The father deserves a Darwin Award. I'm sorry to sound so harsh, but any father who's stupid enough to leave a loaded gun within reach of small children should not survive to reproduce more children. Harsh?
I agree. I agree.
And on Mitt Romney retroactively retiring from Bain Capital. You can't retroactively retire. That's like saying you can unring a bell. Are you going to later tell people they didn't hear the bell ring? Yeah, that's basically what Mitt Romney's doing.
Right.
Retired retroactively? Does he have a DeLorean going 88 miles per hour? Yeah, he's
got a Bentley going 88 miles per hour.
He's got a couple of Cadillacs that he can borrow from his wife.
Right.
That can probably go 88. And if the, what is it, the flux capacitor?
The flux capacitor,
If the flux capacitor works, then he won't be stranded, having been CEO of Bain Capital well after February of 1999.
Perhaps after he loses, he can retroactively become president.
Yeah, he could retroactively never have run. And then people can say he never actually ran unsuccessfully, because he'll retroactively never have actually declared his candidacy.
Retroactively not release his tax returns.
He's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's really brilliant. Yeah, why worry about putting the tax returns out? Just retroactively unrelease them.
Yeah.
Incredible. On today's bonus show, the value of e-waste. The value of e-waste is in the billions. We'll also talk about the rich fleeing France because of a new top tax rate of 75% on income earned above $1 million a year. And Lewis will also tell us about his plan for his upcoming vacation. So will I. We'll be off for a few days. Then we will be back. You have a few days left to become a David Pakman Show member and get a free David Pakman Show t-shirt. davidpakman.com/summer. Get that, and we'll talk to you when we get back.
David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.